So let's dive right in and look at our food import. Over the years, you can see that we have been well over 100 million. And as recent as 2022, closer to 200 million, right? This is a staggering number. We believe that it is important to look at the economics to see how our farmers can benefit and guide our direction in terms of how we produce. So let us take a look at the components of the food import bill, because sometimes when persons hear 200 million, they think that they don't really have a clear idea of what makes up the 200 million. And we thought that it was important to go through that. So we have crops, vegetables, fruits, live plant, livestock, meat, live animals. We have things like flour, alcohol, butter, milk, and cream, and cheese. Let's look at the comparison of the meat imports. We can see over the years, for the past 5 years, chicken has been dominating our livestock meat imports, right? And that is why last night we had a meeting with persons who might be interested in being a part of the broiler industry. In 2022, you can see we were almost at $20 million worth of importing chicken meat. And we were happy to announce last night that St. Kitts farmers or entrepreneurs, whoever are interested in being a part of the industry, can tap into the poultry slaughtering facility that will be constructed in Nevis by December, Huey? Right? So we can move. Yes, and then we can also look at the fish imports. So these are the major contributors to our fish imports. We have the shrimp, the salmon, the tuna, the swordfish, the snapper, and the lobster. Some, of course, what we can do, and some what might be a little bit difficult because of our comparative advantage. So we want to ensure that whatever we are targeting makes sense in terms of feasibility, because some of the items, when you look at the comparative advantage, would just not be economical for us. Here we can look at our produce that we have been importing over the past 5 years, and you can see here potatoes has been dominating, and a lot of the crops that are listed here, like the onion and the bell peppers and the tomatoes, we grow well in St. Kitts and Nevis. But we have to take a different approach, because we want to move away from the gluts, the scarcity, but towards consistency. So our target, when we look at it, is just over $45 million. And you can see the area of contribution. Livestock, of course, dominates the picture with 67%, because, again, chicken is about $20 million, close to $20 million per year. And then we look at crops and fisheries and agro-processed goods. And the reason why agro-processed goods is listed here, because when we look at flour, right, we import about $8 million plus per year. But we may not be able to target that type of flour, but we have the potential to look at import substitution, like the banana, the breadfruit, the pumpkin, the cassava. And this is the direction that we're going, because we believe in these areas we can have some import substitution. So that is also listed here. But could you imagine what $45 million can do for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis? So just to give you a brief overview of the current situation on the ground in terms of our agricultural sector. In terms of crop production, you have over 415 farmers. And when I present here, I'm presenting on both St. Kitts and Nevis, so the numbers represent both St. Kitts and Nevis. And we have land size ranging from 0.25 to over 20 acres. We have greenhouse production, an open field with a wide range of crops, such as roots and tubers, vegetables, and fruit. And as well, livestock production. So this sector boasts of over 300 plus farmers engaged in full-time and part-time production with a wide range of species. And like Eric Evelyn mentioned earlier, we're almost self-sufficient in eggs, and we want to ensure that we become self-sufficient in the other areas of livestock, such as poultry for chicken, pigs, sheep and goat, and cattle. And we believe we have the potential, but again, we need to organize agriculture. So when we look at fishers, we have over 1,400 registered fishers, and they do a wide range of fishing activities: ocean pelagic, pot fishing, long lining, and diving as well. And of course, we can't forget our agro processors. We have about 55 persons with with a number of groups, the beekeepers, Forest Women, St. Kitts agro-processors, and the Nevis agro-processors. And I could not have made this presentation without taking out this important snapshot from our St. Kitts and Nevis agricultural transformation and growth strategy, right? Which would cover 10 years. So the whole idea is to establish a resilient and productive agri-food system that contribute to economic growth and improve livelihoods. And that is where, when we divide the 45 million amongst our farmers and our stakeholders, we can see where these positive measurable benefits will impact our people. And you can see here, it's spot on, because we want to ensure that we can reduce our food import, right? But we also want to ensure that we have safe and healthy food. But our main goal, of course, is for food security, and we believe we can get there. One of the recommendations that was in the strategy is that government commits at least 2.5 million to the development of the sector each year. And that process has already started. And we believe in 10 years, by the time we complete this strategy, we'll be able to see massive transformation in the sector. But I want to make a quick example. Sometimes we travel and we see agriculture is well developed in other countries. And we go there and sometimes we come home and we make noise and say, oh, we need to do this. Of course, we need to. And we are going to. But what we did not see is the time that it took to get there, right? So I believe our approach is spot on. And when we look at livestock here, so if you look at the annual value imported, again, chicken is over 19 million. And you look at all the figures here. We add these figures together, we get well over $30 million worth, right? So that is why livestock contributes so much to our targeted value, right? So you can look at our local production. So we need to increase our production by the quantity for the annual imported value. So these are the figures that we're going to be targeting. And then we can look at our crop targeted value here. So you can look at the different, all that are listed here, and the items are what we can grow locally. And we have a comparative advantage of growing. I want to make sure that we remember that term, the comparative advantage, because we want to ensure that whatever we are targeting makes sense economically, right? So I just want to zoom in a little bit. So let's look at carrot. We still import over 800,000 plus carrots, right? And we believe we have the capacity, we have the land, we have the people, but we must organize agriculture, right? If we are going to tackle consistency, we must organize agriculture and become a little bit more focused in terms of the crops that we target, right? And we understand that currently, in some aspect, some persons practice seasonal agriculture because of the different challenges. But of course, those challenges that are not ignored, right? So we have a golden opportunity if we can divide and have a number of farmers focus on watermelon, a number of farmers focus on tomatoes, a number of farmers focus on broccoli, right? Could you imagine 6 farmers just growing broccoli, where they can well share over 200,000 plus per year amongst themselves? I believe that's a golden opportunity, and I believe we have the capacity to do so. But let's look at the products that are highlighted in red. These crops can grow well in protected structures, and we are about to launch a greenhouse revolution. So in the upcoming weeks, we'll do a groundbreaking ceremony for our Greenhouse Village initiative, and some of these crops will be well targeted in production under structures. And currently in Nevis, they do some production as well, and we are going to be doing the same thing in St. Kitts. And if we really, follow the science and we look at the challenges that we have, we must move in that direction. We must change our production method, because with climate change and heat and all those different type of things, lack of water, I believe this is the right place to go. Those that are outside, we can grow in the open field. And so the fish as well. And I wanted to highlight shrimp because later this year, we'll have some experts coming in from Belize who will be working with us to develop this industry. And when we look and we communicated our figures, they said this is a no-brainer, this is an easy target, and these are low-hanging fruits. And for the other areas, we definitely need to increase our fishing activities. And Randall has already committed and said that this is definitely achievable. And we are going to work with our officials to ensure that we can get that done. we have basically looked at what we need to do, how much animals we need to directly produce to achieve our 25 by 25 target. And you can see, of course, the number of animals for chicken is well over 1 point something million, because $20 million worth of chicken is over 7 point something million pounds of chicken meat, right? When we look at tomato, if we were to increase our production to meet the target by 2025, we'll need 9.5 acres open field. But we can do that same number in 5 greenhouse structures. So what we are also saying, we're not just going to meet the $45 million plus mark, but we'll definitely be able to go over that mark and tap into the region and export some of our products. Just want to give you a little insight. When we look at countries like Barbados, they import well over $8 million worth of broccoli. Could you imagine what that can do for our people here if we can tap into those markets? Yes, and this is the same breakdown where we're able to look at the acres that we'll need to dedicate, the pound and the type of production method. And then the same thing as well, so you can move on. So, and as it relates to fisheries, so these are the steps that we're going to take to increase our production. We're going to deploy more fads. We're definitely going to get into aquaculture because we believe that is a lucrative industry. It is basically untouched in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So what are we doing to support our agenda? Storage expansion. I'm sure some farmers in this room may know how easy it is to fill up the chill. That currently we have just 3 chills available, 2 downstairs and 1 in Tabernacle. But we recognize the importance that if we want to increase our food production, we must have the capacity to store the food. Sometimes persons believe, why farmers can't produce every week? It's very difficult to have fresh produce every week. But if we can produce enough, and we can have our planting cycles on point, we have enough in storage. So when Rams call, Best Buy call, we are able to just go to the storage refrigerator and then we have them delivered to the supermarket. So that is what we're going to do. And this is 6 of them, and 3 out of the 6 are going to be freezers, so we can target crops like the broccoli and the sweet corn, which requires very low temperature storage, like 0 degrees Celsius. And marketing as well. So we believe with that, we'll be able to organize production, improve our packaging, and reduce spoilage. We lose a lot of food every year due to spoilage and post-harvest practices. And that is why this storage expansion is important, because we can now dedicate similar crops to each refrigerator that requires the same temperature. You don't want to have a case where you have 4 or 5 different crops in one chill, and one might be ethylene sensitive, where one release a gas that causes another to spoil. And it's unfair to you as the farmers who are going to be bringing your produce here. So we believe that is forward thinking, and we're moving in the right direction. So feral animal control, that has been a serious issue. Mostly monkeys and pigs for St. Kitts, but all 3, I assume, for Nevis, the donkeys, right? And we're definitely increasing our culling efforts. There's some exciting things that we're about to do to reduce the population, and we're going to, be able to share more in terms of our numbers. And we believe that farmers would be able to smile at the end of the day to say that, the Ministry of Agriculture has been able to reduce the monkey population significantly. That is a must, right? If we reduce 20,000 monkeys by 2025, we can prevent a loss of over $18 million worth of damage, because we know how much monkeys eat. An average of 1 pound per day, 365 days per year, at an average of $2.50 per pound. A significant loss for farmers. And I think many of you can attest to the damage that you experience from monkeys. So this is not a lost cause. It will happen. And our Greenhouse Village initiative, we have identified over 29 acres of land already that we're going to start constructing these greenhouses. And before this picture, because I don't have the pointer to do the animation, we have an image there that kind of show you what the layout. But so at that site as well, we're going to have storage capacity, right? Storage expansion there as well. So you don't have to produce there and bring the produce all the way to Bastille, right? So we're going to decentralize the storage, right? So you can pack, process, and everything right in that location. So this year, we'll see a greenhouse revolution, and we're going to start in the Capistair area with over 29 acres of farmland. And of course, the BFS Livestock Center of Excellence. So we're going to focus on 3 species: small ruminants, large ruminants, and swine. When you look at this sector, right, we have every farmer basically involved in the entire process. We want to change that, right, where farmers are focused on the breeding and the fattening and all these different type of things. We are going to breed, purchase, take it back to your farm, and we increase the numbers at the abattoir. But it's not just about breeding, but the genetics as well. So the average of 25 pounds per animal, when we talk about small ruminants, would increase, right? Because we believe that this is important. Because if you're going to spend the time to raise the animals, you should get the most out of it. But we are also encouraging farmers as well to not keep the animals as pets, but take them to the abattoir where they rightly belong. Sometimes we get calls and farmers would say, oh, all I want back is my animals. All I want back is my animals. Dog bite them up, but take them to the abattoir. They don't want to take them to the abattoir. Could you imagine a farmer have 60 animals and he's telling that he's waiting for December? The price is no difference between now and December, right? So we need to start making that change and approach our activity from a business standpoint. And we're going to work with the farmers to get that done. And we have started that process already. So shortly, we'll have some training. And we believe with all these things that we're doing to support the sector, we'll be able to make food security a reality. And of course, I wanted to make mention of the poultry slaughtering facility that is going to be constructed in Nevis with a capacity of 700 to 800 birds per hour, 10,000 birds per week. I remember in our meetings with the Nevis Island administration, Mr. Huey Sargent said, displacing import reduction as it relates to chicken is possible. Only challenge would be having enough birds to keep the facility running. And that is why we have extended that opportunity. And we believe that it's a no-brainer. Am I correct, Huey? A no-brainer to get into, right? Where you would have the opportunity, whether or not you want to get your meat back or you want to just receive a check, right? And I believe farmers has been asking all the time for us to take over the marketing. They don't want to be responsible for that. And so we have listened, and I believe we are going in the right direction. And of course, we want to talk about the water security initiatives. So we want to explore desalination, additional water tank distribution and rainwater harvesting. So we're going to look at the clusters of the major farming communities and construct large water reservoirs in these farming communities so we can have gravitational feed back down to these farms. I think some of you were at the meetings that we had, I can't remember, earlier this year. We invited water services. It is a challenge, right? Because when you have to choose between domestic and agriculture, yes, food security is important, but I'm sure that they also have their agenda where they want to ensure that people can flush their toilet, right? And they could have water to bathe and all those different type of things. But recognizing that, we decide that we can't stop there and put water security in the hands of anybody else but ourselves. So definitely water security will be addressed, and you'll see some programs rolling out shortly to address water security initiative. And of course, we want to do training hydroponics for some of those crops that we have mentioned earlier, like the lettuce and the tomatoes and the bell peppers. Of course, we're going to improve our extension services. We're going to have tech packs that we can share with farmers so they can go back and look at the document and so they can be guided. And of course, greenhouse production, because we are going to revolutionize what we do here in protected agriculture, right? So, the world is moving in that direction, right? And I believe that our farmers here should benefit from that as well. And I want to make a special appeal to the women, because we have recognized how important women is to our sector. And we're going to make sure that we engage women, because we believe that we can achieve this 25 by 25 and beyond, food security and beyond, without women and youth. And of course, I wish I was able to show you the other picture under that. When we're going to explore agricultural mechanization. Could you imagine having to harvest 10 acres of carrots by pulling them from the ground? So that is why we are now looking at harvesters, combine harvesters, right? We are procuring more tractors so we can improve on our land preparation services in a timely manner, but also to ensure that when you grow 10 acres of carrots or sweet corn or potatoes or whatever it is, we can come and assist you with harvesting these products. So you don't have to have that labor intensive work, right? Of harvesting so many acres of produce. And then of course, you can go back a little bit. Just when you harvest this 10 acres of produce, then you have to wash them, you have to prep them. And that is why we have started to look at different equipment that we can bring and add to our marketing facility to assist you, right? So we believe this is a step in the right direction. And as we continue to roll out these programs, I believe these would be exciting times for our sector. And of course, aquaculture. So we're definitely going to be targeting shrimp production, snapper, seaweed, and tilapia. And these are all opportunities, right? We want to empower our people because we believe once we empower our people, we want to create more employers, but in the farming community as well, right? I was happy when I looked at this gentleman at the front when he was, putting out ads to get persons to work for him. That is what we want, right? More farmers becoming businessmen and women so they can afford to employ people. So our future goal is to, of course, reduce our food imports. That is top of our priority. And at the same time become net exporters, improve livelihoods, job creation. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.